Welcome, everyone, to the MLB Podcast on RJ Bell's Dream Preview. I'm your host, Munaf Manji, back here in the saddle to get you guys ready for the final week of July as we enter the month of August. Can't believe I'm already saying that. Month of August for the 2024 year. Missed the last couple pods, was out on vacation slash some personal things. But I was telling Griffin, my co-host offline, I kind of feel like the Grinch coming back because told Griffin he probably didn't need me because he was absolutely crushing it while I was out. But joining me here to help me break everything down, happening on the diamond in the midst of the trade deadline as well for the MLB. Got my friend here with me. It's Griffin Warner. Griffin, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's just not a very well-timed trip for at Sports Nerd 824. Munaf had won 5 straight best bets, decided to go tour the Coliseum. Maybe he took out some gladiators while he was over there. And then unfortunately the gladiator that was Clay Holmes couldn't get it done for him on Friday. But we're back. I think even with an 0-2 on Friday, we still have had, I think, 10 wins in our last 13 best bets in this show. So we are certainly making the people money and looking forward to continuing that.
Yeah, 100%. I know you and I were talking offline. It's a relatively busy time in the MLB, right? With the trade deadline on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time will be the actual trade deadline. Seen a lot of moves happening over the course of the weekend. I think not really big names. I think the biggest name that did get traded was from the Tampa Bay Rays, Randy Arozarena, making his way over to the Seattle Mariners. Did make his, I believe his debut was either Saturday or Sunday, because I did see him sitting in the stands with
Indeed.
the Tampa Bay Rays after he did get traded. But yeah, maybe he can turn around. His season hasn't been quite Randy Arozarena esque, but I think that's a good get for the Seattle Mariners. I know they also added Yimi Garcia, I believe, to the bullpen there. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on all the moves that are happening as we approach the trade deadline for the MLB. Griffin, loaded card here on Monday. It starts with a double header with the Blue Jays and the Orioles. But before we do get into the games, I just mentioned the trade deadline. Anything that's going to stick out to you over the course of the trades that have been made, or anything that you want to get off your chest here before we do get into the games?
Well, we still have a couple days, recording this Monday, July 29th in the morning, here in the beautiful country of Texas, and we'll see potentially what comes through today and into tomorrow. I've been pretty hesitant on some of the bets I've been making, though I guess it hasn't stopped me from putting them in, but being like, oh no, who are the Rays going to trade in game? Fortunately, the Jason Adam news came pretty early on Sunday morning, if I remember correctly. So you have to watch out for that. Unfortunately, it's hard to know who's going to move, and the dreaded start a pitcher and then see him get traded after 2 innings or something like that. You are in then a bullpen game that you weren't expecting and the team wasn't expecting. But that's part of the game. You got to be ready for that at some point. It feels to me like a lot of deals have been made already, but I don't think we're done just yet.
Yeah. Again, like I said, it'll be interesting to see some of these teams that are contenders or looking for those kind of final puzzle pieces to see who they acquire, whether it's in the everyday batting order or whether it's in the bullpen or even the starting rotation to bolster that a little bit. And a lot of these teams have been dealing with some injuries there. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for all of it as we, like I mentioned, approach the trade deadline. And as I said, for the Monday card, it starts off with an early game, the first game of a doubleheader. We talked about names being traded, and this gentleman is making his team debut for the Baltimore Orioles in game one of the doubleheader against the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach Eflin getting the start here for the Baltimore Orioles, and it'll be Rodriguez for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Orioles are a minus 188 home favorite, plus 158 on the money line for the Toronto Blue Jays. Total is at 9 in this game here. Griffin, what do we think about the Jays and the Orioles?
Yeah, so we got two Jays and Orioles games today.
Yep.
Pretty wild that to see the Orioles laying this type of number, especially considering they were snake bitten or just slumping into the All-Star break and ever since. Got a big win on Sunday to kind of get off the schneid, but Interestingly enough, we're up 6-0 and had to hold on for dear life with the game-winning run at the plate as the game ended on Sunday afternoon against a pretty hot Padres team. But then the Blue Jays, I think, did a really good job to really hurt the Texas Rangers' chances. And who knew? But maybe the Blue Jays might look like one of the hottest teams in baseball once they started liquidating their assets and focusing on 2025. Zach Eflin is, to me, he had such a great season last year in Tampa. Hasn't been that same pitcher in 2024, and is joining a team that has a lot of expectations that they haven't been living up to recently. Had some boos, I even heard this weekend after a collision with 2 outs and allowing 2 San Diego Padres runs to score between Gunnar Henderson, their shortstop, and third baseman Luis Urias. I feel like there's a lot of bad things going on in the Orioles system right now. I don't think that's something they cannot fix, but it does unfortunately present a little bit of an opportunity to potentially look towards the Blue Jays, maybe look at that run line plus 1.5 as I'm looking at minus 133. So not cheap. But great park for Yadiel Rodriguez to keep the ball inside and to try to potentially make this competitive. So I wouldn't expect a ton of runs in this game. So maybe look to under as a possibility as well.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this line with Zach Eflin and wasn't very. Actually, I was surprised to see it at north of minus 180. Yes, I understand. The Blue Jays haven't had the greatest stretch here or even a season, but Zach Eflin has seen this Blue Jays team 3 times this season. 0-1 with a 6.23 ERA. I know 2 of those 3 appearances were in Toronto, but his last start was 5 2/3, 6 hits, 2 earned runs. But prior to that, 6 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 5 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 6 earned runs as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't be able to talk you off the under in this game between these 2 teams. Look at the Blue Jay side here at the plus money odds there, which gets us to the second game of the doubleheader between the Jays and the Orioles. I am seeing Bowden Francis is going to get the start for the Blue Jays, and it'll be Cade Povich for the Orioles. Orioles are also favored in game 2 of the doubleheader, minus 158 on the money line, plus 134 for the Toronto Blue Jays. Total in this game between these 2 pitchers will be 9.5 here. Griffin, any thoughts on game 2?
Yeah, I mean, 2 of clearly the good pitchers are going in the first one, which makes me think that we probably, I mean, it is hard on a doubleheader to see. I feel like there's just generally not as many runs scored because it's a long day for the hitters, a lot of focusing. You're not really as prepared for a single pitcher or starting pitcher that you would in a normal day. I don't know exactly how much that lowers the ceiling on runs being scored, but Francis, I just haven't really had a ton of respect for, nor the Blue Jays organization in general this season. Cade Povich coming back up from the minors. He has made a bunch of starts for the Orioles so far this year with mixed results. Had a big win outdoing Garrett Cole in the Bronx, but also now has, I think, to try to keep his rotation spot, though it looks like this might just be for today, especially with the Eflin addition. So big price here on the Orioles. We're not playing well. I wouldn't be shocked if this doubleheader was split today, which would certainly profit on the Blue Jays money lines.
Yeah, Francis is a guy that you're typically probably going to just an opener. He maybe going to go 2 innings for you, and then the bullpen does come in for the Blue Jays. Again, like you mentioned, it's tough when you have these double headers. I tend to stay away when it's double headers because you always want to check the lineup, especially in game 2. Maybe guys that are going to sit for game 2, get ready for Tuesday, whatever the case might be. But we could maybe see runs being put up between these 2 pitchers in game 2. Over 9.5 would be a look for me, but I tend to typically stay away from game 2 of a doubleheader. Like you mentioned, typically we do see splits in doubleheaders, especially between these 2 teams. We'll get over to the next game on the schedule here. We'll go over to 2 AL Central teams, the Cleveland Guardians. They are in Detroit to take on the Tigers. Tanner Bybee getting the start here for the Guardians. And we'll keep an eye on this one. Jack Flaherty, his name has been popping up in trade rumors, so we'll see if he indeed does get the start here. But he is going to get the start here for the Tigers as of right now. Guardians are a minus 120 road favorite here, plus 102 on the money line for the Detroit Tigers. Total is set at 7 in this game here. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Guards and the Tigers?
So I backed the same exact pitching matchup from last week, and I backed the Tigers, had a 1-0 lead and a home run in the first inning, and no scoring was done until some mistakes late by the Tigers, I think in the 7th inning even. To me, I feel like I'm still interested in the Tigers here. They didn't have a great weekend series against the Twins, but were underdogs, I think, in all three of their matchups. So, I mean, not a lot of expectation for Detroit at this point. I think, though, you hit it with Jack Flaherty to be probably the biggest starting pitcher name on the trading block right now.
Yep.
I am very concerned. Any sort of Tigers play, I think you're listing pitchers. Some sports books, I think ever since COVID, have just removed that feature. So you're basically making all action bets. I would be very wary of that because if the Tigers, you should get it. So just based on some, I guess, 101, if you don't mind, we do it for the people. If you were betting listed pitchers, your bet will cancel if both starting pitchers listed do not pitch.
Right.
However, if you are betting action, that means if there's a big pitching change, they will adjust the line, the sports books will, and still give you that team to bet. So Jack Flaherty, if it becomes a bullpen game like we saw yesterday, Tigers, I think, were plus 130 or something like that at home to the Twins. Different scenario here with the Guardians, but still one of those scenarios where you don't really know who you're getting if you're playing an action bet. So I would be very cautious or careful and potentially even wait towards, Jack Flaherty will be starting this matchup. Though, as I said, biggest nightmare is after 2 innings, he gets pulled because he got traded to some contender. I don't know what really the Tigers are thinking because I think Flaherty just signed a 1-year deal. So I think he is like gonna have to move pretty much.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Yusei Kikuchi move yet. At least I haven't seen his contract is expiring. So there are some pitchers that are in that space that should be going pretty soon. And maybe the Tigers are more conservative with Flaherty on Monday because they're concerned potentially about damaging their goods that are probably about the peak, though certainly coming in with a big outing against the Guardians 2 times in a row certainly would up some value, or at least I just don't know what Jack Flaherty needs to do or can do further to, I guess, make him look like a more valuable commodity. So might see a little bit shorter of a leash here on Jack Flaherty, and we see more of the Tigers bullpen after, I think, 2 bullpen games this weekend. So some concern for the Tigers and who's going to actually get some outs. But if in a perfect world, Jack Flaherty makes the start uninhabited or unlimited, I think I am interested in the Tigers here as a home underdog. And I think in general, under 7 runs also looks good to me.
Yeah, and that's exactly the part that makes me nervous about this game. As if you want to back the Tigers side again, Jack Flaherty can indeed get the start, and maybe after, like you mentioned, 2 innings, he gets pulled, knowing that he got traded. Then I don't want to say your bet goes up in flames, but you're I don't want to say on the losing side of things, but it'll get tough for you at that point. Tanner Bybee has struggled in his career against the Detroit Tigers for whatever reason. He's made 5 career appearances dating back to last season, 0-3 with a 5.84 ERA. But like you did mention there, Griffin, his last start was against this Detroit Tigers team, 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run. But prior to that, he had allowed at least 4 earned runs in 3 of those 4 previous appearances against the Detroit Tigers. So with that being said, I'll probably wait closer to game time and see again if Jack Flaherty indeed is going to get the start here. I'm with you. I lean with the Detroit Tigers here, getting that plus money at home. But again, this might be a game that I completely stay away from because, like we said, that Jack Flaherty's name has been one of the hotter names, if not the hottest name that should be on the move to a contending team. Come whether it's on Monday or whether it's on Tuesday. With the trade deadline approaching. We'll get over to the next game on the schedule, probably the matchup of the night, at least the pitching matchup of the night. The New York Yankees, they are in Philly to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Lewis Heel getting the start here for the New York Yankees, and it'll be Zach Wheeler for the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies are a minus 142 home favorite, plus 120 on the money line for the New York Yankees. Total is set at 9 in this game. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Yankees and the Phillies?
So pretty big price for Luis Heel. Don't see him with that type of a plus money number next to his name very often. But of course, going to, I think, the World Series favorite now in the Philadelphia Phillies off of a grinder of a series at home with the Guardians this past weekend, but in Philadelphia, whereas the Yankees had to go to Boston for some marathon games, especially in the era of the pitch clock, and then also played Sunday night and then had to travel, got in, I'm sure, super late to Philly last night. So, or I guess probably even the wee hours this morning of Monday, July 29th, 2024. I'm most interested in the Phillies because I think the situation helps them a lot. Zach Wheeler also looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball, and I feel like he can get through a New York Yankees lineup that maybe was starting to emerge from the shadows this weekend in Boston, but you could argue the Boston Red Sox bullpen was a big reason for all of that. I think total's hard for me to project because it's a very small ballpark, though certainly Yankees have not been hitting as well. And Heel has been very good at striking out batters when he needs them, and doesn't seem to matter or phase him when he walks people or gives up hits because there are not a lot of hits that happen. So I think it's a weird price to see it next for Luis Heel, but I still feel like I'm more interested in the Phillies side here. I think they have a better pitcher and they bat last.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you mentioned. That has the Yankees offense snapped out of their funk, um, or are we going to see them, cave again because you're going up against a Cy Young worthy pitcher here in Zach Wheeler? And a lot of that, like you did mention, it was because of the bullpen of the Boston Red Sox over the weekend where they were able to put a run with the Yankees. So maybe that gives them a boost, some confidence. But Zach Wheeler's been my guy this season. He's been very, very good to me. So I got to stay here with Zach Wheeler. His last 5 performances have been absolutely phenomenal. I know it hasn't been against the greatest competition, but again, you pitch against who's in front of you. He had 7 shutout innings against the Minnesota Twins, 5 innings, 1 earned run against the Dodgers, 6 innings, 2 earned runs against the Cubbies, 6 2/3, 2 earned runs against the Marlins, 7 innings, 1 earned run against the Diamondbacks. So he's been in great form. Hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs over his last 5 starts. In each of those starts, I should say. So, yeah, I would stay here with the Phillies here, minus 142 on the money line against the New York Yankees. Getting over to the next game on the schedule, we'll go to the NL Central teams, the Chicago Cubbies. They are in Cincinnati to take on the Reds. Jameson Taillon getting the start here for the Chicago Cubs. It'll be Connor Spires for the Cincinnati Reds. Almost even on the money line here, minus 110 for the Reds, minus 106 for the Chicago Cubs. Total is at 9.5 in this game here. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Cubs and the Reds?
Good over park, but certainly not over teams. We saw the Reds and the Rays struggle for any sort of runs. I'm not sure a single team in that entire 3-game series scored more than 4 runs in a single game. I think we saw 3-2, 4-0, and 2-1, I want to say, were the results in Tampa. Very different park, of course, compared to the Great American Small Park. But the Cubs haven't really been hitting much either. They did have for their I guess an offense explosion for the North Siders in Chicago this weekend in Kansas City. But I'm just not really a believer that it continues. Jameson Taillon's been very competitive this year. I'm looking for him to move to an underdog. I would love to get some plus money on him. I'm not sure we will because this line has been pretty steady in this, pretty much a pick 'em each way. But I'm hoping that some Cincinnati money comes in. They had a pretty tough meltdown on Sunday, including striking out a batter with 2 outs, and but a wild pitch was thrown that ended up tying the game. So just a brutal kind of, I guess, and both these teams are fighting for playoff, I guess, to get into the race, but are probably far enough and out that no one's really trusting them to do much. It's hard to say. Just 9.5 runs feels like it's asking a lot here. So I'll be waiting for the Cubs, potentially some Reds money to come in and make the Cubs a little bit better price. And then I think under 9.5, the move from 9 last night feels a little bit expensive for me for these limited lineups.
Yeah, I think this is Carson. I said Connor, but Carson Spires return from the IL. I think he had a back injury, if I'm not mistaken, but his last start was against the Marlins back on July 12th, 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 9 strikeouts in that game here. And Jameson Taillon has been another name that's been in the trade rumors as well. I want to say it was linked to the Astros, if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, another pitcher to keep an eye out here. I think the Cubs side is, I 100% agree with you here. Griffin, I think that if you're able to find some plus odds, again, we always say definitely shop around for the best number. I'm sure it's out there for the Chicago Cubs in the spot. I do like the Cubs here on the money line against the Cincinnati Reds. We'll move it along here to the next game on the schedule. Let me get back to my odds page. We'll go over to Fenway Park. The Seattle Mariners are in Boston to take on those Red Sox. Logan Gilbert gets to start here for the Mariners. It'll be Nick Pivetta for the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox are a minus 120 home favorite, plus 102 on the money line for the Seattle Mariners. Total is set at 8.5 in this game here. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Mariners and the Red Sox?
Yeah, I guess all it took was the Chicago White Sox trip to potentially wake up the Mariners. Though I think certainly trading for Randy Arozarena and also Jimmy Garcia were huge for Seattle, and potentially resetting some expectations. Plus, the Rangers faltering Toronto this weekend was also very good for Seattle, though they're still unfortunately looking up at the Houston Astros and have to somehow hold off Munaf's next door neighborhood club. I think the Logan Gilbert side is interesting to me with plus money because he's been so good this season. I'm still not sure I believe in this Mariners team though. I did go out on a limb and pick them to not make the playoffs at plus 135 at the All-Star break. I was feeling very good about that since they got swept at home by the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, lost 2 out of 3 to Houston before that in the series right out of the break. But things change very quickly when you go to face potentially one of the worst Major League Baseball teams of all time. I think this is a big test for him to go to Fenway, where I don't think Seattle has had a ton of success over the years. Pivetta also coming off a really, really poor outing. Defense let him down, but also just doesn't seem to ever pitch well at Coors Field. The Rockies dropping 20 runs against him in a game he started. I'm sure the Red Sox will be more motivated, and probably also off of a pretty lopsided loss on Sunday Night Baseball to those rival Yankees. But this is a big series for the wild card, especially. I think I think Logan Gilbert's an incredible pitcher, and I love taking him with any sort of plus sign next to his name. I think the Red Sox are the side I want here with a slight home favorite.
Yeah, Nick Pivetta has struggled at Fenway Park this season. 7 starts, 1-4 with a 5.50 ERA, and his ERA still stayed at 3.75, even with what happened in Coors Field in his last start here. He's been one of the pitchers I just can't figure out. And as much as I want to take the Mariners side here, I think, the bats breaking out in the south side of Chicago may indeed have been a fluke here. But yeah, Logan Gilbert, like you mentioned, he's been absolutely incredible, especially on the road as well for this Mariners team. So I'll be curious to see if Nick Pivetta is able to bounce back here after his last start in Coors Field. But Logan Gilbert has been absolutely fantastic. His last 2 starts were against the Angels, but I don't know how much you can take away from that. He's a strikeout pitcher. He's had at least 6 strikeouts in 4 straight starts, 7 strikeouts in at least 3 straight starts. So I'd lean with the Red Sox here. But again, would not be a surprise if the Mariners did pull this game out with Logan Gilbert on the mound. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to the Minnesota Twins. They are at Citi Field to take on those New York Mets. Simon Woods Richardson, SWR, gets start here for the Twins, and it'll be Jose Quintana for the New York Mets. Mets are a minus 118 home favorite. Even money on the money line for the Minnesota Twins here. Total is set at 8.5 in this game here. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Twins and the Mets?
Yeah, two teams fighting for the playoffs should be a pretty good series. Interleague is always interesting, sometimes very hard to handicap, but for the most part, I think I'd go for the home team that looks a little bit underpriced. Had a big series with the Atlanta Braves this weekend and have no days off as far as the eye can see, unfortunately. Especially bad for the Mets, who just got Kodai Senga back for his first start this season, only to put him on the IL. Still, the Mets have played very well recently, including sweeping a 2-game series short on the road across town in the Bronx. So all that's pointing in the right direction. But I think Quintana, the big question for him, I mean, he was going to be out of baseball in April, but has really stabilized his season. Simeon Woods Richardson really hasn't done much in his career, but has kind of taken a starting role in Minnesota this season and has held on to it with a very, very strong grip. I think both these teams are going to hit the ball. Minnesota is really built to hit home runs. The big question is, can they square up Jose Quintana? I would say they will not be able to do so, especially because they're a big platoon organization. And I feel like the Twins are a lot stronger against right-handed pitchers than lefties. A lot of their power bats are from the left side. And I feel like I doubt we'll see the Matt Wallners, et cetera, of the world. Maybe Carlos Correa will be coming back for this matchup. I'm not sure just yet. Especially interesting with his almost signing for the New York Mets way back when until they found the plate in his leg. I think we'll probably see a tight game here. So that makes me a little bit more interested in under 8.5, though I gotta say I probably it's hard to say because if there's a lot of hitting in this game, you could see that over 8.5 look very, very good very quickly. So I'll go Mets minus that short home price right now.
Yeah, Minnesota's been below league average in most offensive statistical categories against left-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks, which again does make me nervous. But Jose Quintana, like you mentioned, over his last 5 starts has been absolutely incredible. Obviously, he had a rough start against the Rockies, but other than that, against the Yankees, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 7 shutout innings against the Nationals in both starts. He had pretty decent outing, I guess you can say, against the Astros, 4 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks in that game. So, yeah, I do think runs will be at a premium. The first look I had was the under 8.5 in this game with you. Woods Richardson has also been incredible for this pitching rotation of the Minnesota Twins here. So, yeah, again, a series like you mentioned that has implications for playoff seeding in a wild card. So under 8.5, I'd lean with Twins, but I think my more fair play will be the under 8.5. Getting over to the next game on the schedule, we got the Texas Rangers. They are in St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. Nathan Eovaldi gets a start here for the Texas Rangers. It'll be Andre Palante for the St. Louis Cardinals. Rangers are a minus 112 road favorite here, minus 104 on the money line for the St. Louis Cardinals. Total is set at 8.5 in this game here. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Rangers and the Cardinals?
Yeah, a lot of my Dallas area group chats have not been too pumped about the Rangers play and feel like there's potentially some selling momentum. I'm not sure that Eovaldi would be on that list of players to be sold, but I feel like a lot of that Rangers bullpen might be on the move, though certainly they could kind of stand pat with a lot of talent coming back from the IL. It's just who knows when it'll be there. Josh Young, pretty close to returning, but still hasn't for I think he's been out since the first week of the season. Still no debut yet from Jacob deGrom. Those things aren't as impactful on today's number, I guess. So I'll kind of get back to Andre Palante and the St. Louis Cardinals. They're fighting around in that very, very big logjam of National League wildcard teams, but the Cardinals bullpen's been good. Palante is, I think, similar to Simeon Woods Richardson, wasn't really expected to be a long-term starting pitcher for St. Louis, but has certainly taken that role. We've seen a fair amount of St. Louis money come in overnight. I was one of those, so I'm happy to see this one about to be pick'em. Last night, the Cardinals were definitely at a plus symbol next to their name. So I like the home team still. I feel like they are a reasonable price. I don't love fading Eovaldi, but I just feel like the Rangers haven't had it this year, and I wouldn't bet on them just waking it up all of a sudden on the road with in a tough place to play with a team that's been playing a lot better after a really slow start to the season.
Yeah, Evaldi has struggled on the road. And you take a look at 12 home starts, 6-1 with a 2.67 ERA. On the road, 6 starts, 1-3 with a 4.58 ERA. And those 6 road starts that he's made for the Texas Rangers, the Rangers are just 2-4 straight up, 1-5 on the run line in those games on the road when Nathan Eovaldi has made those starts here. So, I mean, like you mentioned, it seemed like the All-Star break came at the wrong time for the Rangers because it seemed like they were starting to, trend in the right direction, getting back into the race in that AL West. But I'm on the Cardinal side here as well with you. I'm not trusting Nathan Eovaldi on the road here against the St. Louis Cardinals. Griffin, it's the month of August almost. I believe on Thursday we'll be in August 1st, which means football season is here, which also means football season for you as well across the pond. We're obviously in the midst of Summer Olympics here as well, but people are ready for the pigskin. We're still going to be grinding out MLB, of course, all the way to the World Series and crowning our World Series champion this year. But a lot of hot handicappers right now on pregame.com, getting win totals ready, wherever the case might be. But let our listeners know, what can they take advantage of right now on pregame.com?
Yeah, use that promo code Bubble50. I don't know if we're all of a sudden back in college basketball season talking about bubbles here, but maybe we're just out in the streets blowing bubbles. Who knows? I guess maybe who knows where we're going. But if you use that promo code Bubble50, you can save $50 on the Major League Baseball second half all access packages for any of the baseball handicappers on pregame.com. I'm one of them. Feel free to throw Bubble50 in and pay only $299 for the rest of the season, all the way access through the World Series. It's good for 7 days from the podcast release. So you have until the 6th or 7th of August. That's definitely not the correct math, but you have a few days to use it, 7 days from when we release this podcast. So use it before next Monday. But you can save $50 on a second half all access package to Major League Baseball plays, going all the way through the World Series for only $2.99. Use that promo code BUBBLE50, BUBBLE50.
There we go. Let's go over to the next game on the schedule, 8:11 Eastern start time. The Atlanta Braves, they are in Milwaukee to take on the Brewers. Colin Rea again start here for the Milwaukee Brewers, and I believe it's Gavin Holmes, if I'm not mistaken, for the Atlanta Braves. Brewers are a -116 home favorite, -102 on the money line for the Atlanta Braves. Total is at 8.5 in this game here. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Braves and the Brewers?
Yeah, Braves really haven't looked great for a while, I gotta say, unfortunately. And now they go to a really tough place to play in Milwaukee. Certainly different, I think, expectation levels and certainly different lineups. But the Brewers have been really good at home all season. Colin Rea has done the same. Also had a very good start at Wrigley Field last week. I feel like it's a cheap enough price for me to back the Brewers, so I'll do that here.
Yeah, I love the Brewers in this spot. You mentioned it. It's been Colin Rea that's been absolutely fantastic at home for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's made, I believe it was 9 home starts. The Brewers are 7-2 straight up in those spots, 6-3 against the run line there as well. I think you're going to get a great cheap price here. Braves might be one of those teams that may be looking for starting pitching because I did see Ronaldo Lopez, I believe, left the game over the weekend. Don't know the extent of the injury just yet, but that might be a team that's in the running to get some starting pitching there for that rotation. But say that to be on the Brewers here, -116 on the money line. Getting over to the next game on the schedule, we'll go to the south side of Chicago and 8:11 Eastern start time. The Kansas City Royals, they are in Chicago to take on the White Sox. Alec Marsh gets to start here for the Royals. It'll be Chris Flexen for the Chicago White Sox. Royals are a -164 road favorite here, +138 on the money line for the Chicago White Sox. Total is set at 9 in this game here. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Royals and the White Sox?
I don't know what to do with the White Sox at this point. I feel like I'm not really looking at their games. I don't think that I'm going to be in a position to bet against them much this year. Alec Marsh is a minus that type of price favorite away from home is obscene, but probably sensible at this point. So not much for me there other than I guess you could bet the White Sox the rest of the season and just hope for a few winners down the road. I don't think that's for me.
Yeah, Chris Flexen has made 12 home starts this season for the White Sox, 1-11 straight up in those starts, 2-10 on the run line, 7-4-1 towards the over. I don't want to back Alec Marsh at that number, but I think maybe the Royals team total over would be the look here. If you want to go first 5 innings or full game team total over, I think that's going to be the look for me in this game here. Do expect them to put up runs, but I'm not sure if I can really trust Alec Marsh. Even if it is against the White Sox. Next game on the schedule, we've got, I should probably get out for this one. Pittsburgh Pirates, they are in town to take on the Astros. Paul Skeens is on the mound here for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it'll be Jake Bloss for the Houston Astros. Pirates are a -132 road favorite here, +112 on the money line for the Houston Astros. Total is at 7.5 in this game here, Griffin. Paul Skeens Day here in Houston.
Yeah, big type of favorite for the Pirates and Paulie Skeens. Maybe Livy Dunn will be there, probably not. But I think the Astros, the big question is what do they get from their starting pitcher? Bloss has not been very good, has been touched up quite a bit so far. Can the Pirates do that, especially coming off a tough series in Arizona? I'm tempted by the home underdog here. I feel like this price has come down significantly, like 20 cents since I was looking at this last night. So that's a pretty big move to still have the Astros as a big underdog. That's the way I'd lean, though. Fading Paul Skeens does not feel like a fun time. So it might be one of those. I feel like if there was some sort of, price would be different, of course, but if there was a better Astros starting pitcher, I think I'd be more interested to be against the Pirates here.
Yeah, I'm very, very tempted by the Astros here. And like you mentioned, this number has probably come down. I think I want to say like in the neighborhood of 20 to 23 cents. I want to say it was like a -154, -158 when it opened. But Paul Skeens coming off 8 1/3, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts against the Cardinals. He's gone at least 7 innings in 4 of his last 5 starts. But I think this is going to be the true test going up against this offense of the Astros for Paul Skeens. So definitely going to be watching this game. I lean with the Astros side here as well. But like you mentioned, going against Paul Skeens is very, very high risk at this point, but the way that he's been pitching as of late. But I mean, you take a look at the competition as well. It was the Rays, the Braves, the Mets, the Brewers, the Cardinals. So this is going to be a fun game to watch going up against this Astros batting lineup for Paul Skeens. So we'll leave it at that. And we'll get to the last game on the schedule here, Griffin. It's going to be the Washington Nationals. They are in the desert to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Lefty on lefty matchup here. Mitchell Parker gets to start here for the Nats. And it'll be Jordan Montgomery for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are a -164 home favorite here, +138 on the money line for the Nationals. Total is set at 9 in this game here. Griffin, what are your thoughts on the Nats and the D-backs?
Two starting pitchers I don't like very much at this point in the season. The Nationals keep selling pieces, but Jesse Winker, not Joey, Jesse Winker wouldn't matter so much as he wouldn't be starting against a lefty anyway, as he's one of the bigger platoon players that was producing this season. I just don't really know what to expect from Montgomery. He was better in his last start, but I don't know if I believe it on the road in Kansas City. I'll go over 9 in this one as a short but sweet type of idea.
Yeah, not interested in laying that -164 price, but Jordan Montgomery just has not been very good thus far this season. Nationals have actually been pretty decent against left-handed pitching. They're above league average over the last 2 weeks in team batting average. And I like their lineup. I mean, they have some fun young guys in that lineup as well. I know Arizona as well has been pretty good against left-handed pitching this season as well. So I think we could see runs being put up. I want to say this was at 8.5 last night. When this number did open up, has moved to 9 here. Seems like money coming in on the over here. But yeah, over would be the play here, whether if you want to go first 5 innings or if you want to go full game. Couldn't talk you off of that. But runs for sure in this game between the Nationals and the D-backs. That is the schedule for the Monday card in MLB, which will get us to our best bets here for the Monday card. Griffin, you want to lead us off?
I would love to. I'm going to stay on the East Coast for this one. I'll go those New York Mets and Jose Quintana pitching very well for a team that looks like they are emerging as a team that will try to find their way to guarantee a playoff spot, but still a long way to go. It will be a competitive matchup, and Woods Richardson has been very good this year. But I think it's a big test for the Twins. And as you mentioned, very big downturn in average, slugging percentage, all those sort of things for those Twins against left-handed pitchers. Give me the New York Mets as a slight home favorite on this Monday card.
There we go. All right. I will stay in the central area. I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Brewers over the Atlanta Braves with Colin Ray on the mound here. Brewers have been one of the better teams at home this season. 30-19 straight up. And a lot of that has come from Colin Ray. Like we mentioned, he's made 9 home starts for the Milwaukee Brewers in those spots, 7-2 straight up, 6-3 on the run line. And Atlanta just not playing great baseball right now. They've lost 4 of their last 10 games. Sorry, 6 out of the last 10 games. I think this is a good spot here for the Milwaukee Brewers with Colin Ray on the mound here. So I'll take the Brewers -116 right now on the money line to get it done in game 1 of the series against the Atlanta Braves. All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of the MLB podcast on RJ Bell's Dream Preview. Monday card. Hopefully we do come back later this week talking about more winners. We've been on a great streak over the past couple of weeks here, more in part due to my esteemed co-host, Griffin Warner. But Griffin, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Yeah, I would. We are running a Major League Baseball second half king contest at pregame.com. Just free to enter. 100 minimum picks, maximum picks, 250 net profit. Highest net profit will win. First place through 5th place, 500 pregame bulk dollars, all the way down to 100 based on where you finish. Go look on the forums, pregame.com, to find a way to enter. If you haven't already, you got plenty of time. It runs through the World Series. Just need 100 minimum picks to qualify. First place, 500 pregame bulk dollars. Go throw that in there. Go join the contest today.
There you go. Make sure you guys get over there, pregame.com, enter the contest, and make sure you use that promo code Bubble50 as well. Get yourself a package, whether it's MLB, whatever the case might be. Just get over there to pregame.com use that promo code again, Bubble50. All right, we'll be back later this week for the MLB pod, maybe talking about some exciting trades that did transpire since the trade deadline is on Tuesday at around 6 p.m. Eastern time. And again, hopefully talking about some more winners. Till then, good luck with your bets. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.